Thank you so very much. Wow. It is so good to be back here with family. I tell you, thank you for having me back here. My name is Reverend Crystal Muldrow, for people who don't know who I am. And I am coming to you today to talk about, to place within your scope, within your consciousness, just one word. And that word is wonder. And using wonder as a spiritual truth. The name of the talk is The Wonder of It All. And so when we talk about wonder, it isn't a wonder that in a way that separates us. I think in many ways that we are looking at wonder that separates us. There's so many things going on in the world today. There's so many wars, even here in our country. There's so many issues and rioting. And I think we wonder what's on people's minds. But that's the kind of a wonder that segregates us. I'm referring to a wonder that even with the riots and even with the war, going into a deeper wondering of a knowing, of a trying to understand your fellow man and woman. To understand what is going on in the world and to go deeper into a spiritual enlightened state. A spiritual investigation of the world, your world, to go deeper. The basic practice is wonder. Wonder begins in your senses. It comes alive in your imagination and flourishes in adoration of the divine. We're talking about a wonder of the all, so that you are no longer walking by aimlessly, passing life by, passing the most beautiful and the most ugly things behind without trying to figure out what is that. The spiritual practice of wonder is coming alive, allowing all of your senses, not just the sight which goes blind, not with your hearing which goes deaf, not with your taste that only tastes the bitter, and not with the feeling of a cold hand, but all your senses alive, wanting to appreciate and embrace all of God's life. For we here in Unity teach that God is all, yes? And that God is in everything, everywhere present. And if that's the case, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the perceived outcome looks to be, we know that God is there and present. And because God is good, we know that ultimately what the perceived outcome is, ultimately it will become good, even if it isn't good in that moment. That if you open yourself up to hear the beauty and the joys of God, that God will turn everything around for you by using you, by talking to you and guiding you on your right way. But if you're not open, if your senses aren't alive to hear and sense the beauty of everything in this world, if your imagination is not triggered on so that when you hear the word of God guiding you into these things, that your imagination doesn't link that this is how you can do it to move from A to B. If you don't flourish, then the adoration is gone. The wonder is gone, and we no longer see the awe and the beauty in the world. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. That's William Blake. To see the world in a grain of sand. How many times have we been to the beach and really picked up a grain of sand? It's beautiful. Different colors. This entity can make glass. I mean, it's beautiful. We just tumble around hoping that our feetsies aren't too hot in the sand. We get tired because the sand is all over the place when we go to the beach, and we get irritated by the sand. But how many times have you really sat on the beach and admired the sand and the world in one little grain of sand? How many times have you really looked lately at a flower and found infinity in it. You know, this brings to mind, and I wish I could remember, I think it's MIB, Men in Black. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, I'm going to give you a little thing of the ending. They were looking for the universe. People in Men in Black, they were looking for the universe. And the only clue they had was that it was on Orion's belt. Spoiler alert is that the universe was a little marble on a cat's collar called Orion. So many times we look for the grandiose when everything we need is right here in the speck, in the mundane. But until we open ourselves to the adoration of the grandiose and to the minuscule, wonder what is there, what it's all about, really investigate, look at it to not make a judgment, but to understand. The difference. Not looking at it for judgment, but to understand is where we open ourselves up to God. Wonder arises from our natural curiosity about the grand adventures of life. It increases our capacity to be bold inner space trippers and an avid explorer of the physical world. We just said that God is everywhere. The spiritual component of wonder opens you up to now want you to see God in every element. In Unity, we talk about it. But how many times do we really hold on to it in our mundane life? How many times do we look at the setup of the coffee machine and see God there? How many times have you looked at Mark's face and seen God here? Love you, Mark. And I do see God in you.
I see God.
Thank you. I see God in all of you. And you know, seeing God in everything isn't just in the living. We set the grain of sand in the seats that you're sitting on, in the clock that you're holding, in the phony plant and the live plant. God is everywhere, but you need to open yourself up. And not just see some drab paint or something that you thought was drab. How many times have you really taken an investigation of paint? I'm an artist by trade. I have a bachelor's of fine art. I was a graphic designer, so in magazines, and with magazines and printing, it's a 4-dot system: magenta, yellow, cyan, and black. And all those things come together to make brilliant colors. So this isn't just one color that you're looking at. The seat isn't one color that you're looking at. The clothes that you wear that are solid aren't one color. There are a multitude of colors coming together to make various hues, but until you really investigate the fabric, more and more going into the mundane, then you can see everything coming together. You can see how everything that is separate comes together and separates again and shows you that it is one. In looking at the wonder, the first step in the spiritual practice is to rejoice in the play of senses. The senses of your sight, the senses of hearing, the sounds of the children playing while sweet songs are being sung. The senses of movement while they're dancing, the senses of smell of those wonderful cookies that are over there. The senses of taste. Being like a little child again. You know, with children, a sense of wonder is always there. That's why we like children in our lives, isn't it? Because we are able to come back into focus, to look at the world anew. That's what wonder is about. Looking at the world anew, looking at every element of God anew, because every element in the world, every element of you is God. And until we open up to all the spectrums of life, we will continue to wonder in judgment. Not wonder why people are hurting. Wonder is about a deep investigation of the good, the bad, and the ugly, not to take away a Clint Eastwood movie. But I'll add in there the beautiful. It's to look at all of it. Because until we take that deep investigation to hear, to see, and to revel in our differences, to rejoice in the differences that is an infinite amount of God, then we're just blocking ourselves from God, yes? When we can't see the beauty in someone else, even though they're different from us, we're blocking ourselves from that beauty of God. And when we don't wonder what a different culture has or is doing, we block that vision of God. Hopefully this is the next slide. Become friends with people who aren't your age. I posted this meme on my Facebook. I love it. Hang out with people whose first language isn't the same as yours. Get to know someone who doesn't come from your social class. This is how you see the world. This is how you grow. Now, I always advocate traveling for the same reasons. To get to see, experience, and allow your senses to be alive in a new environment that is completely foreign to you. But you know, in this technological age, in what we call the melting pot here in the United States, the world is here. Again, I love traveling, but look for the world right where you are. Allow yourself to open up. No longer segregate yourself from people that you don't know. Allow yourself to venture out, meet new people. That is the only way, again, you can see the world, but most importantly, that is the only way that you get a chance to see that we are one. That we all want the same basic things. No matter what our language is, even though we might not be able to communicate, all in all, we have the basic needs of protection, safety. We want for our children to live in a peaceful life. No matter what anyone else out in the world is doing for war, ultimately, because of fear, that is what they want, but they're acting out of the fear because they want the control over it. But I will say that 100%, no matter whether they're acting out of fear or love, we all want the same basic things. And until we stop judging, stop isolating, start listening, stop investigating, start wondering if what they're saying is true for them. Stop being defensive and being open. Then we can get to know people. I have a wonderful woman that I became friends with. Her name is Reverend Dorothy. And she was one of my classmates when I was going through seminary school, 2005, 2006. And Dorothy, both of us were kind of quiet. I know it's hard for you guys to believe. What are you doing? Why are you laughing? I'm kind of shy. I'm actually am. And she is too. But the way we came together is I saw her walking in the snow, year 2005, to come to class. She lived across the way from the village. And so I stopped, I picked her up, and something in me said, you know, I have to pass by her house anyway. Why don't I make the invitation that I will pick her up and then drop her off? And at first she said, no. She's an independent woman herself. And Dorothy was about 60-something at that time. I also have to tell you that Dorothy is Chinese, born and raised, lived in the Philippines, and now lives in Canada. And it was a wonderful experience once she decided to allow me to be of service to her. What a beautiful friendship ensued. Here, both of us thought that we were coming from completely different cultures. I, African American, she, Chinese, born and raised, and then married and living in the Philippines. But the beauty is that not only after picking her up and dropping her off at home, she asked me to take her places. She became more comfortable. We started talking. I would take her to the Chinese market in Kansas City, and we would go places and do things. And in this exploration of opening up to one another, we found that there were so many similarities to our culture. So many strange foods that my culture eats, she does too. So many foods that I couldn't find, I found in the Asian market. So many experiences of growing up and living and life we both shared. Here was an African American woman and a Chinese woman who I soon to start calling Mama-san. And she treated me as her daughter, who found similarity. And to this day, after 8 years of being ordained, we're still communing. We're still communicating. I was in my early 40s. She was in her 60s. Chinese, African American, now Canadian. Hey, yeah. Life lessons from different places, and yet we came together. The experience with Reverend Dorothy was beautiful. One of the best experiences out of coming out of seminary school here. And I probably would put it up there with getting my ordination. Was that opportunity for both of us to open to a friendship. That's what you get. You get the illusions when you wonder about something. You take the deep investigations. You take the illusions of your own thoughts away, and you are able to open up to the reality. Whether it meets your senses or doesn't, at least you've investigated it. You know. That is what wonder is all about. It takes grace in our time to keep our minds open to wonder, to be ready for the tug of God, to put that push from the Spirit and the revelation of deep things from the hearts of ordinary people. It takes grace, but it is a great gift. It's a great gift, wonder. You are a great gift for somebody else to get to know. They are a great gift in getting to know them. How many of you, when you look at your friends, you find them a gift? Why do we isolate with such a small portion of friends or acquaintances? Why can't the world be our friend? We talk about it a lot, don't we? We talk about having the whole world in our hands. We talk about we're one in God. We do a lot of talking around here in Unity, but it's time to put some action to it. One of the beginning steps of that is wonder, because once you wonder, you open yourself up to be in awe of the beauty of divinity in everything. And once you open yourself to be in awe of the beauty in everything, it gets contagious. And you get you want more and more. Because all of a sudden you see God in everything. You want more of God in everything. Most importantly, not only do you want to see it out there, but you see it more in here. You see the truth of divinity in every component of your life. Open my eyes, O God, to the marvels that surround me. Show me the wonder of each breath I take, of every thought, word, and movement. I wish I would have thought to copy this, because I want you guys to, I'm going to slow this down and take some portion of it as your own prayer. This is by the Rabbi. Open my eyes, O God, to the marvels that surround me. Even right here, right now, there are marvels surrounding you right here, right now. Show me the wonder of each breath I take. That beautiful breath of God moving in and through, surging forth, moving through the lungs, your wonder of life itself. The wonder of every thought, every word, every movement. I invite you, as your own spiritual journey, whether it's a start or a continuation, to leave here. No, start right now. Looking at me, looking at the back of someone's head, looking at whatever you're looking at, take a beautiful investigation of understanding. Darla, stop counting the hairs on Martha's head. Okay, continue on. It's a wonder, yes. It's a beautiful wonder. And look at the beautiful glow on Mark's head. Wonder on the crystal ball. I invite you just to continue to keep that in your heart and mind. When you find yourself walking through life, pause for a second. Take a look at what's around you. Wonder what it's all about. When you see people angry, wonder, don't make a judgment, wonder what it's all about. When you find your own self angry, wonder what it's all about. Just wonder.